I'm actually not going to.
Here to cover all things crime, history, and politics, we are at the desk. I'm your host, Sophia Tabernet, and in today's episode, we will be talking about the results of Tuesday's election, exploring the progress made in the government shutdown, and playing a fun game about some historical music albums. Now come take a seat with us at the desk. Welcome back to ATD. First, it's time to send it over to the politics panel to discuss the results of the last election cycle. Over to you, Ryan.
Well, thank you, Sophia. The 2025 election is behind us, as new governors will take office in New Jersey and Virginia in January. And in New York, Zohran Mamdani is scheduled to be sworn in at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Day. He will be the youngest mayor in over a century. We will get to that, but first, after 41 days, the government shutdown is over, the longest in history. Ryan, tell me what you think. You said you had a message for a certain individual in the Senate.
Originally, I was going to come on here and just rip into Chuck Schumer, but now I'm not entirely sure.
I remember the text message.
Yep, I'm not sure it's entirely his fault anymore, but I just have to wonder what happened. On Sunday night, it seemed like out of nowhere, a deal was struck between 8 Democratic senators and the Republicans. And what they got out of it was nothing. I mean, they got the promise to rehire all the federal workers that were fired, which really shouldn't have happened anyway, but they got a promise of a vote on ACA subsidies, which is pretty much nothing. A vote on these subsidies by December, of course. And Mike Johnson is already saying he can't even promise a vote. So what happened? I mean, the Democrats won this election. They swept it even. And they proved that despite the shutdown, people weren't going to vote against them. The shutdown did not harm them polling-wise or anything. I mean, polling suggests right now that people were tending to blame the shutdown on Trump and his refusal to negotiate. And, he instead hosts these grand lavish parties while people on SNAP benefits are going hungry. And so we end the shutdown, and why do these people...
Right, I'm doing this. He likes to talk about the ballroom, too.
Yeah, the massive East Wing ballroom that is happening.
I had to do that. When he does this, I go, Jesus, that guy's hands are disgusting. Sorry, continue.
It's rare that a party that initiates the shutdown wins. Very rare, almost never happens. But in this case, it looked like it was happening. His approval ratings were in the tank. And so now I just look at Doug Schumer. The reports are right now that he was fighting privately to extend the shutdown. So this may not all be on him, but at the same time, this is your caucus. This is your party. You got to get these guys into shape. If your minority whip, Durbin, is out going against what the party wants, you have no control. He can't rally his caucus, and really it might be time for new leadership. Either he organized this deal to be cut because all the senators that went against it or are now conforming to the Republicans are either retiring or do not have re-election until at least 2028, and which is really convenient for guys like Schumer or whoever else. So either he cut a deal and kind of tossed the blame elsewhere, kind of shielded himself, or he has no control over his caucus anymore. And I just think it's shocking how the Democrats consistently are able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yes. And I think that your anger, your frustration is very, very representative of how a lot of Democrats in the United States feel right now. Because, yes, Democrats put up a 40-day fight, obviously. They wanted to preserve the Obamacare, subsidies, all these things that Trump was threatening to cut. Obviously, the SNAP benefits were gone for quite a while. There are all these things happening, and they eventually folded. They always seem to fold to Trump. They always seem to give in. They seem to be the weaker party. Even when they win the election, they just won all the elections just happened this last Tuesday, and they still on the federal level cannot stand up to Trump. And so, obviously, John Fetterman voted in favor of it. No surprise there. Tim Kaine, 6 other Democrats, some of the similar faces, some people that we expected to do it, but it's still a testament to just how powerful of a political machine Trump is and just how powerful the MAGA movement, even with Trump's disapproval rating going up and up, it's still a powerful movement. People are still afraid of him to a degree and want to submit the knee to him.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how these 8 candidates, what their reasoning is for conforming to Republicans. And also it's very telling about the Democratic Party in general. I think that there's a big internal fight within Democrats, which is leading to this kind of continuing loss among Democrats. I think progressive Democrats are super angry right now with moderate Democrats, which is just escalating things. I think that the 8 senators that voted in favor of this are very concerned with mostly upholding the government accounting office, which seemed to come up a lot. And also they don't have they don't have to deal with the longstanding issues with American healthcare, which you touched on, based on their election cycle, which ultimately leaves them with less of a concern on upholding a lot of what the progressive Democrats were very, very strong about initially about this government shutdown.
All right. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, it was 40 days for essentially nothing. 40 days for essentially nothing. Why did SNAP recipients, why did the food insecure have to become political pawns for this long just for their healthcare premiums to double?
Well, I'm actually happy I let you talk because that's a good transition. We're all, as a lot of people like to say, glazing the Democrats here. We're saying they did a great job. Someone has to play devil's advocate. No one else wants to do it. I'll do it. I'll talk about what Oklahoma Senator James Langford said on Meet the Press. He said the goal was to lower healthcare costs by as much as 25%, that being Obamacare. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Obamacare. It's been a total failure in terms of lowering premiums by 25%. He also said that Democrats need to stop wanting to fund private insurance companies without mandating or taking control of the cost of that funding. Ryan, your response?
My response would simply be that doesn't matter. We have the system we have, and there is no alternative currently. We can make further adjustments to it. We can make further control. We can put further control on these healthcare companies. People have to vote for it. One side is going to vote for it. One side isn't. We know who's who.
One side will vote against, one side will vote for something. That seems to be the issue with Trump, Republicans in general, but Trump mainly. He loves to bash Obamacare, as Republicans have been doing since it came out, but he doesn't offer a solution. He said concepts of a plan back in September of 2024, never really came up with a real solution to the healthcare crisis in America. Obviously, compared to most Western countries, we have extremely expensive healthcare in the private and even in the public sector a lot of times. And the Republicans just love to kind of beat around the bush and never actually come up with a solution to lower healthcare for just normal, everyday Americans.
I mean, they're more so just against things right now than actually for anything.
It seems to be the case, yes.
I mean, Trump didn't. I think what Democrats, especially some of the moderates, figured out is that Trump doesn't care that people are going hungry.
And
None of this has any effect on him. He's still going to build a ballroom. He's still going to do whatever it is he does to get attention. And they realized maybe that it's not worth letting people go hungry. It's just so confusing.
A lot of people are actually blaming J.D. Vance for this, as he is often in these conversations in the Senate because he is the president of the Senate as well. And Josh Spiro actually particularly aimed at how he basically turned his back. He came from a community. He got famous off of writing a book about a community that, relied on SNAP benefits and, low-income housing opportunities. And he's just essentially turning his back on that right now by not getting the Senate together to agree on some sort of way to feed these people and to house these people.
I mean, Trump and the Supreme Court just said Trump has to pay out these SNAP benefits, and he's refusing to do so. And there are states like Pennsylvania that have privately went and paid out SNAP benefits themselves, and he's telling these states, undo that. What is this? Why is he so okay with people going hungry, and why are Democrats so okay with it and so okay with just giving it up for nothing?
Well, I think that, especially like Fetterman, who's responding to people pleading basically for a solution. It's I think for a government, Fetterman, who feels very close to Pennsylvanians and advocates specifically for low-income Pennsylvanians. He specifically said that my party crossed the line. So he's definitely very swayed by how many people are impacted by SNAP. 1 in 8 Americans are relying on SNAP benefits. So these are crazy statistics that are hard to ignore, which basically puts healthcare on a back burner yet again for another election cycle.
I mean, Pennsylvania is a purple state. So when Trump first got elected and the lead up to it, when Fetterman started appealing to Republicans more, I kind of get it. He wants to appeal to his constituency.
Right.
Trump right now, wildly unpopular. The elections just show that. We just had one of the largest mass protests ever showing that. I don't really get what he gets out of breaking with Democrats so often.
So I'm going to rant real quick before we move on to elections, because I know you're all just like, Ryan, let's move on to elections. Time out. Hold on. I'm going to rant real quick because there is something that has not been mentioned a lot. State budgets are now being held up too. These Republicans are holding up state budgets in the Republican Senate, a mock image. But you know who's being impacted? No takers? Okay, fine. I'll just say the answer. School districts, as soon as January, could be facing budget cuts. School districts throughout Pennsylvania. Today, I spoke to Chris Santini, superintendent of the Bald Eagle Area Schools District. He said that his district, 40 to 50% of the budget relies on state funding. And guess what? They need to use that state funding to help cover the federal funds that have been impacted. So it's all a domino effect. Same thing in New Jersey right now. School districts like Toms River, sorry, I'm from New Jersey. I know I love to talk about New Jersey, but school district like Toms River says it is already behind in funding and paying its teachers. It's experiencing mass layoffs, and now it has to make up for some of the federally funded stuff through the Department of Education. We all know that's been taking cuts, and now the state as well. New Jersey and Pennsylvania need to sort things out in the state, because what's more important than a federal budget is the state. What happens when people are angry with the federal government? You know who has to step in? The state, and Pennsylvania has not been stepping in. I also spoke to State College Area School District Representative Peter Buck today, who is a Penn State employee, and he says that even though State College specifically is not going to be impacted heavily, the problem is low-income lunch is going to take a humongous hit by January if they don't figure things out.
This is just another
Yep.
indictment on the Republican Party and their refusal to negotiate or work, and just allowance of people to struggle.
And school busing too, as well. They're having trouble recruiting bus drivers. How are they supposed to pay them more? They're stopping projects on expanding the schools with a growing population. When we have a growing population like this, we need to come up with a way to fund it. And we're not funding it right now. The tax dollars seem to be there, or we seem to have a plan. Actually, State College raised its taxes recently in the 25-26 fiscal year. You're shaking your head like you knew that.
No, I nodded my head.
Yes, okay, cool, yeah. Anyway, yes. So anyway, State College is now bringing in more money, but can they get that money from the state that they need is the question. So everyone's going to have to start to behave in the legislature. For some reason, judges are starting to behave now. Judges never behave. Judges are starting to behave now. Can we get the legislature to behave? Please, I beg. I'm pleading. Anyway, all right. Oh, go ahead. You have something to say.
Before we move on to the elections, I just want to say that I don't think Schumer is the guy for this job anymore. We need fighters. You want people to go in there and stand up to Donald Trump. And with someone like Schumer who just insists really on just losing again and again and again, and to the point where it's like almost kind of pathetic. We need stronger leadership within the Democratic Party if we want to stand up to this moment, and he is not the guy for this moment.
Well, now it made fun of me for saying this, but I actually agree with you. When you made fun of me for this, I said it a couple weeks ago. We need less old white men in Congress. I mean, it's true, but that's what we need right now. And then obviously Schumer is the living definition of that. He needs to go. I mean, I agree. He's been there for way too long, been causing problems way too long for his own party and for the entire country as a whole. And I think it's time to move on from this age of leadership.
Pelosi would not have folded like this. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Pelosi's got to be history.
Well, still, I'm just saying if she was still in power, she would never have gone down like this.
Anything to add before we move on to elections?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you entirely. I think Chuck Schumer showed an incredible lack of leadership in a time where not only Democrats, but the entire country was very reliant on a strong a leader, and he failed miserably. So, yeah, on that positive note.
Elections. All right, elections. What do we want to talk about first? Can we go to Zoran? Can we talk about Zoran a little bit?
Zoran is by far the most interesting one.
Show of hands. Let's get a full shot. Okay, they're on the full shot. Cool. Let's get a show of hands. Who is surprised that Zoran won by as much as he did? 9%, that being. No one's surprised. I'm surprised.
I mean, I told you.
I thought it was going to win by
in.
more. I thought it was going to win by more than 9%.
I did as well.
If you take a look at the poll, 7.1% is what Curtis Sliwa got in third place. Even though that would not have made a difference, would have been within the margin of error. Signaled a recount.
Yes, it would have made it a lot closer. Now, some Republicans and some Democrats alike said it was selfish of Curtis Sliwa to stay in the race because obviously that could have motivated more people to vote for Schumer, or not for Schumer, for Cuomo, and it would have allowed for this socialist not to take over New York because people are very, very scared of this far left ideology. But I think that at the end of the day, though, I think that Zohran Mamdani still would have won the election, even if it was a lot closer. And I think that it's a testament to how frustrated people are with neoliberalism and with that older age of Democrat Party. They want to see new young faces. They want to see new ideas. They want to see things that haven't really been tried before, at least not in this country. And people are willing to take risks because obviously they took a risk with Trump. Trump was a threat to the establishment when he first became president. He was a non-politician. He was someone who risked it. And that was the right-wing version of that. Now the left is looking for their version of Trump, their version of a risk taker, someone who's outside of the comfort zone.
I mean, Sliwa, the guys that are voting for Sliwa anyway, I really don't think if he dropped out, they would have just ran for Cuomo. And if they did, I don't think it would have been in numbers to be enough where it would have triggered a recount.
Many say his best endorsement was Rudy Giuliani. And do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to focus on what's going on now with Mamdani because a lot of the stuff that we initially talked about Trump threatening with federal tax cuts, like this is all coming to life. And I think it's interesting because Governor Kathy Hochul. So she just came out and said that she does not foresee a plan that's going to make buses free, which was something that Mamdani ran on. So I think we're going to see a lot of the stuff that he initially promised, and really ran his campaign on kind of unfold. And I think a lot of people right now are very skeptical if this is going to come to life or not. And so far, it's not looking too good.
I have something to add. She's actually up for re-election next November, and she's running against her lieutenant governor in the primary. They had a falling out, and I think she's going to have to make a political statement that might impact her in her re-election run. Is she going to side with Zohran, go all the way to the left, or is she going to try and stay among the center when she was lieutenant governor under Cuomo?
I think she's just going to stay at the center.
I think so too.
Establishment Democrat. I think she's going to toe the line right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mamdani, he won handedly, and I think I think he and the rest of the Democratic kind of sweep that happened last week are an indictment on Donald Trump, on saying they got the numbers out. Republicans spent $20 million in Pennsylvania to try to get this judge retention case to swing their way. It didn't work. It wasn't close. Democrats swept to the point where they overturned the Mississippi supermajority. They won the Bucks County School Board, which is huge, and nearly all the Moms for Liberty candidates, all 35 of them that were running for school board spots across the country, all lost. If that's not an indictment or a statement against the a rebuke, I guess I would say, against the Republican Party, I don't know what is.
Thank you, Thesaurus. I said, thank you, Thesaurus. You're searching it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with Ryan. I mean, I think that people are, Trump got his mandate last year. Republicans got their mandate last year. But now people are starting to see that the policies, his promises was one of his main things that people voted for was affordability, cost of living. Hasn't been addressed yet by either party, but Trump promised to fix it. Hasn't done anything really. Been good with the border, been good with some other things, but not with that. So Zohran Mamdani and also, Mikey Sherrill, these other candidates, Democrat candidates, they're running a big time off affordability, off of kind of contrasting the Trump vision of America. And people want to go with it because they're upset with how the country's going right now overall, and they want to steer it in a new direction, even though we had a Democrat president a couple of years ago who they didn't like either. I think people, again, are just very, very dissatisfied with politics overall, but they want to challenge the current status quo, and the current status quo is Trump.
Trump is currently calling affordability right now. He's calling it a hoax.
He loves to call things hoax.
Affordability is a democratic hoax made up to hurt him in elections. I mean, he himself admitted the shutdown hurt him or hurt the Republican Party in the election, which just goes even further against the Democrats, I think, when we were going back to what we were talking about with the shutdown. But I think it just shows Republicans continue to struggle in elections where Trump is not on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on that as well. Like, all the candidates ran their campaign mostly on affordability. This is how they won. Aside from this kind of anti-Trump portion of their campaign. And I think it's interesting because historically, Republicans usually run on this. But I think that there's an increase concern regarding President Trump's focus on foreign affairs instead of this America First agenda that he ran on, and this is what he won on essentially. So, and I think it's important to look at all of his economic policies that he's produced have had really negative consequences. His trade war with China was not successful. He hurt U.S. farmers. His big, beautiful build plan left millions of people that relied on SNAP hungry and in need of attention. So his administration has offered absolutely no clear, sustainable path to securing affordable health care for Americans and affordable lifestyle for Americans. This is why Democrats won, and there's no question about that.
Well, all right. We're pretty much getting there, but Jackson, I want to give you the floor because Virginia, your home state, its first ever female governor, a Democrat. Could have been a Republican too.
Well, first of all, congratulations to her. Obviously, that's a very historic achievement. Either way, it was going to go to be the first woman governor of Virginia. I think that Winsome Earl-Sears, she just was a genuinely just unappealing candidate for the time being. Obviously, she was lieutenant governor. She had that incumbency advantage to a degree, but she seemed to be kind of unpleasant on the debate stage, didn't seem to run a very motivated campaign. Obviously, Youngkin was a relatively popular governor, but still had some things that people weren't happy with him on. The cell phone policy in schools, things like that. The service centers for like data and all that kind of stuff that was raising the electricity costs around those areas. So there's, again, affordability, little thing, education, the issues that really, really affect voters who like are voting for governors and voting for anything in the state legislature. He didn't do the things he needed to do in the last couple of years of his governorship. So I think that Winsome Earl-Sears was a victim of that. And Spanberger's not exactly an appealing candidate herself. She was, one of the big. Personally, I don't think she was. I didn't vote in the election. I probably should have, but I did not. I didn't find either one to be particularly appealing. But she seemed to be the better solution for Virginia at the time, and she got the NOVA vote that she needed. So that's how it goes.
She was. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Because
No,
I'm going to talk about Cheryl because.
I'll talk about Cheryl.
Okay, this is really important. I mean, exit polls found that she won roughly 18% of Trump's Hispanic support, which is something that we discussed previously, and I think that's very telling. People are very much fueled by not only like the economic policies behind this, but also his stance on immigration and the intensity of the ICE raids. So she got nearly 300,000 more votes than the previous Democratic nominee in the previous election. She won nearly every electoral demographic. I mean, this is a huge win. I think hers specifically stands out more than the others.
Chitarelli did not do nearly as well as I thought he was going to.
I think everyone agrees with you. Believe it or not, Spanberger and Cheryl, when they were both in Congress, roommates, they're now both going to be governors of their state.
I think I know that.
Wow, pretty cool stuff. I have an idea. We should try this next show. We have one more show before Thanksgiving. Let's get coffee cups and let's drink coffee.
It's a talk show, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get permission. But let's drink coffee. I think it'd be pretty cool because I'm sitting here listening.
Get us energized.
Sophia's like, Ryan, stop talking. So take it away, Sophia.
Thanks, Ryan. Now over to Ginny for an in-depth analysis of the progress made on the government shutdown.
Thank you, Sophia. After weeks of political standoff, the government shutdown seems to be coming to an end finally. Earlier this week, the Senate voted to approve a short-term funding bill to temporarily reopen federal operations and partially end the shutdown. The Senate's vote came with much negotiation and working with lawmakers to prevent any further disruption to federal services. The bill, which passed with 60 to 40 votes, will fund the government until January 30th, 2026. This gives Congress more time to work on a long-term compromise. For federal employers, this vote brings relief. For the past month or so, many people face no pay whatsoever. This pushed many to make difficult decisions about big and day-to-day expenses. An employee outside the Capitol said that it was a huge weight off their shoulders and that they can finally plan for the upcoming weeks. The legislation moves back to the House of Representatives for final approval. It's expected for the members to act quickly because the House previously passed the bill. After the House approves it, the bill will go to the President Donald Trump's administration to get his signature, which will be ending the shutdown. Even though this is fixed temporarily, the underlying dispute about federal spending still remains unsolved. Lawmakers have pointed to differences over priorities and have made them the topic to negotiate in these next couple of weeks. Political analysts are saying that if the government doesn't compromise, there can be another government shutdown. The public's reaction is very mixed. Even though many are happy that the government shutdown is coming to an end, there are many that are saying that the shutdown never should have happened and that Congress's inability to resolve a dispute highlights deeper dysfunction. Some Democrats see the vote as a betrayal of their bargaining position on healthcare subsidies. For many families across America, the return to normal day-to-day operations is great news. Federal offices will reopen, many workers will return, and services will resume. But for the government, experts warn that this is not the end of the shutdown, it's just a pause. Back to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Ginny. Now it's time to send it over to the history panel to analyze the history of different music albums. Over to you, Lauren.
Thanks, Sophia. Welcome back to the history panel. Today we're talking about music. Music has such an impact on history today. It captures feelings, struggles, and cultural movements of time. Artists use music to tell stories about social movements, personal experiences, and it helps people come together for one thing, the love of music. In today's discussion, each panelist is going to tell us the backstory of an album they've selected, and then we will guess the time period the album is from. The panelists will then tell us the history and the name of the album. With that being said, let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Are you ready to start?
So excited.
Yes,
I'm really
love
excited.
music.
We're
Love
going to
music.
test everyone's music
Yes.
knowledge right now.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off.
Okay.
Hopefully the graphic will be up soon. Okay, so there's the graphic
Ooh. It's
of
rounded.
my album of choice.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yep.
I'm gonna give you some backstory real quick. So
Yeah.
this album was inspired by like the end of the world and the anxiety of the end of the world.
Wow.
And it's talking about modern themes of political and climate fears.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you guys think?
My goodness.
What decade this could be from?
I mean, you're looking at me. I do happen to know this album and know who the artist
I
is.
have a feeling.
Do you guys know who?
You know, when I
This
hear like
is-
end of the world, I'm reminded of that time in 2012 when everyone thought the world was going to end. And you said modern history.
Yes,
That's
yes,
kind of cool.
modern.
So I
yes.
want to say it's from the 2000s, 2010s.
Yep, you got
Like
it. you got it.
unironically, I
Yeah.
do think
Yeah,
that might be.
2000s.
I think I might be on the
Yeah.
Guys.
You guys all agree? Yeah.
2000s,
She was
2010s.
correct. She was correct.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it was right.
Yeah.
It was right. Okay, so I'm gonna make. I hope I said his name right. Hoser.
Okay, I've heard it said many different ways. To
Okay,
be fair.
yeah,
So
okay.
just go with whatever feels right.
Hoser.
Okay.
This is a Wasteland baby. It came out in 2019. So the history behind this album, it comes from the civil rights history, actually. And a lot of the songs are honoring certain activists like Nina Simone and MLK Jr. It's also shaped specifically designed like a Cold War style album. So
Wow.
like the doomsday fears era of music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also other biblical and mythology history connected in it that show the struggles of today's political and climate change.
Yeah,
happening.
absolutely.
So,
And I love
yeah,
that you
cool.
selected an album that's like so relevant to the present.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
Because climate change, it's like, it's like in the past, but it's still happening.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's
Yeah,
really
awesome.
cool.
I
Thanks,
do
Lauren.
know this album and I love it a lot.
I thought it was
Yes.
weird. I thought
It is
was
really-
weird,
it is
but
an
I was
amazing
like,
album.
I don't know.
No, I was
Yes.
don't
I
listen
feel
to
like people are
music.
going to be able to guess, but I also like the history
Yeah.
in it. So
Is that Hoser on the album cover? Or is that just a?
I
I'm pretty sure that's him.
Is that him?
looks like
Yeah.
that
I think
does
it's
look
him.
like him.
I think
That
it's
Is he
does
underwater?
look
Like
like him.
actually?
This is a great
All
question.
right, next one.
Committed. Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is mine. This is shout out to my dad. This was his recommendation. So I'm gonna explain the history in a little bit of a different way than Lauren. So this is the debut studio album from an English rock band called The Outfield. And even though they're based in the UK, it still went certified double platinum in the US. Can anyone guess what time period this is from?
I was looking. This is one of the ones I was looking at as a potential one.
Really?
I think.
Wait, really?
I think yeah.
Oh my god, I love that.
It's either 80s or 90s.
That's what I was getting to.
I think it's 80s.
I'm getting 80s.
Consensus?
I'm getting 80s.
Consensus?
Yes.
I would agree with 80s. Yeah,
80s?
80s, yeah.
You guys are correct. This is the album Play Deep. It came out in 1985, but originally The Outfield, they came out in 1984 under the name The Baseball Boys until their US manager suggested that they pick a new name. And for our history, we're going to talk about some historical context about England in 1984. So in 1984, miners' strikes were happening all over the country because the National Coal Board was going to close 20 different coal pits and a bunch of people were going to lose their jobs. And then also the attempted assassination of Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher also occurred by the Provisional Irish Republican Army. So there is a little bit of your history, even though this came out in 85, focusing on some English history in 84.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like we're learning about one of my classes right now, but all music, media literacy, it's all a response to what's happening like at the time.
Yeah.
So the IRA good job, Kara.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's move on.
Next.
Okay, so this is mine.
Oh, I like this.
So it was done as a revolt of commercial rock and the kind of, like small like rock and then kind of like a commercial level of making it like big industry level music.
Okay. I'm kind of getting like 70s vibes.
You said revolt. I was gonna say you said revolt, but you said commercial rock though.
Yeah.
I'm feeling either 70s or 80s, also judging by the color, the hair.
I'm really
The
getting
hair.
70s vibes.
I could get either 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really.
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah.
70s?
I said 60s or 70s. But
60s or 70s.
Put your hands down.
60s, 70s.
I do think the color scheme is giving me 70s. I just think this is giving like a Vietnam War kind of to me. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah. I mean, 60s, 70s would sound right.
You got your hands in your
I refuse to do that.
What? Okay. Come on.
I still haven't done it, but I would definitely say not. I would say earlier than 80s for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's hear it, Nikolai.
60s, 70s. How about 80s? It was
Well,
I got it right. I said 70s.
Knee Deep in the
That's what I
Hoopla.
was
This was the inaugural album from the American rock band Starship.
Wow.
So in May of 1984, it was a band called Jefferson Starship. They released a single. Then one of their members left because he felt that the band was getting too commercial rock, getting too industrial, getting too mainstream of a band. So then he left, and then Starship formed, and they kind of wanted to make it show that the problems with mainstream rock music and the death, like the inaugural song, "We Built This City."
Oh, okay.
Wonderful song.
That's from the Muppet movie.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah.
Toss that out there.
This
Just want to
album?
toss that out there.
History is everywhere, guys.
So-
Including in the Muppet
And the
movie.
song
And
is
the
about
Muppet movie, too.
live performances in Los Angeles and how they have gone away during this time period.
Wow.
And it's looking to fight against.
Wow.
Fun fact, during a Super Bowl family party, I performed this song for the whole neighborhood. I lip synced it.
Oh, should we hear?
That's amazing.
I was going to say,
Do you want to give us
we
one line?
can make some time at the
No,
end of our
we're good.
segment.
We're good.
good? Okay, then let's move on to the next one.
All right.
all right. So this is the album I've selected. So this is basically an album that touches on political corruption, war, and censorship. It's basically a critique of the American justice system. It is a heavy metal album, and it is one of the band's most well-known albums. And basically the last four words of the title are, or the title is the last four words of the American Pledge of Allegiance. So that's
wow.
Wait.
I know this one.
Wait,
I like this. This is
then
a
I
good
don't know
album.
the title,
I
but-
do like this one. I forget what year it's from, but I am, just because it's Metallica, I'm going to say 90s or 2000s.
Wait, pause. Did you just say you don't know the name of the album? It's the Pledge of Allegiance.
No, but he
Pledge of
said the
Allegiance right
last.
now.
He said the last. The last
Give
word.
Give it away.
I'm trying to play it in my head.
It's like when someone says like, "Where's the letter in the alphabet?" You have to go A, B, C, D, F, G.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
like,
go.
I'm
Lauren,
I pledge allegiance
fill
to
in the
the
blanks.
flag
Fill in the blanks with liberty.
and justice for all.
Bro,
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Well,
we got there eventually.
what time
I
period?
couldn't think of it.
Does everyone really guess?
This has to be 80s.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Probably.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
late 80s.
Amazing.
And justice for all.
Guys, and Lauren got the album name.
Yes.
I got it.
This is all right. Let's hear a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Right. So as we know, it was released in 1988. It was nominated for a Grammy, but it lost to Jethro Tull, which most people I think don't really listen to anymore. But yeah, it was meant to be recorded earlier, so it was actually supposed to come out a couple years earlier. But the band had tour dates, and then their lead singer got into a skateboarding accident, so they had to keep basically delaying the recording of this album. And it was actually the first album they released after the death of their bassist, Cliff Burton. So they got a new bassist for that album, which was also a very new thing for the band. And yeah, as we know, it is very, very much focused on the American justice system. A lot of it is, obviously about political corruption, war, and censorship. And of course, you can see just evident in the title, justice is one of the main themes of the album. A lot of the songs are about money, and you can even see like on the cover, it's a picture of Lady Justice with, so yeah, that's obviously the main theme of the album. There's another point I was going to make.
Yeah, and I mean, in the 80s, you also had like the war on drugs and stuff like that. So there was a lot going on with the justice system in the 80s, and I do think it is really important to have like albums from a variety of genres that talk about it. We haven't hit a metal album yet.
Definitely.
We will soon though. Let's move on to the next one. All right. So this album, I'll give y'all a little bit of a context clue here. This album was originally titled War Pigs, right? And there's kind of two things going on. There's like a lot talking about post-war life, right?
Strong.
About what's it's a lot of depressing themes prevalent in a post-war society, but it's also talking about this mental health effect of post-war life and a lot of anxiety that comes along with it. That's another context clue, anxiety. The album name is a synonym for anxiety. So think about what war happened in American history where the general public felt this extreme sense of anxiety. Think about it.
I'm thinking.
Well, when we think about war, what scares us, right? Like if the United States got into a war right now, would any of us be scared of being drafted?
Yeah.
You'd be scared of being drafted.
Yeah.
So let's think back to when we as a collective
Lauren and I are terrified.
So let's think about when we as a collective were last scared of being drafted. That should be another clue.
Okay. Oh, okay.
What war were people scared of being drafted for? People dodged drafts for this war.
Okay.
It's the obvious one.
Was it 60s or 70s?
I was
60s or 70s.
I was thinking 60s or 70s.
I think it's 60s or 70s.
Okay, well, 60s or 70s. You guys are correct. It is 1970. And the album is Paranoid by Black Sabbath. So,
okay.
You can kind of see there is like a lot of war going on, right? There's people holding the swords, the shields.
This
album,
that's so
cool.
cool.
People were being drafted for the Vietnam War at the time, and there was a lot of anxiety going around this. I will say a lot of the music released around this time was focused kind of more about peace and love and hope. And this album directly foils those themes and focuses more on the paranoia, the unsettlement, right?
Yeah.
Some interpretations connect the lyrics to the anxiety and trauma experienced by the veterans of the Vietnam War returning home, such as in the song Paranoid with lines like, people think I'm insane because I'm frowning all the time, right? Then other songs kind of just deal with the horrors of war, right? Tracks like War Pigs just critique the military-industrial complex. You know, there's a song called Electric Funeral, which is literally what it sounds, right? Like nuclear fallout, electricity killing everyone.
Wow.
So
That's
it
really
deals with a lot of
awesome.
dark stuff.
Yeah.
You know, metal albums got very political back in the day, right, Tyler?
Yeah, one of the first metal albums, in fact.
Exactly.
So-
All right, let's move on.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay. So I think it's my turn again. I mean, okay, so the title of the album was left in this photo.
That's okay.
But
Love it.
okay, so You still have to guess the time period, but I'm going to give a little bit of backstory on this. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Lauryn Hill is one of the best artists of all time. If you disagree with me, I don't want to hear your thoughts because I'm correct.
Lauren is right.
Yeah, because Lauren is right about Lauren. Yeah. So this album was created during a turning point in the artist's life. It's about finding your identity in the music industry, and it's the story of Black womanhood and like the storytelling of self-education and trying to get yourself through the education system. So what time period do you think this could be from?
Okay. I am familiar with this album. I don't know specifically what time period, but also it is, you mentioned R&B before.
Yeah.
Lauren and I may or may not have had a kiki on the side. There was no cheating, I promise. So I'm going to say, I feel like R&B would be 90s, 80s or 90s, maybe 2000s, but I feel like this is a little bit too vintage to be 2000s.
Yeah.
Let's go with 90s.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 90s.
I'm gonna go
I think
90s,
that's a
early
good, like,
2000s for
Yes.
this
point.
one.
90s, you're correct. Came out in
Yeah, right.
1998.
nice.
So I'm just going to give a little bit of history behind the album real quick, and then we're going to keep moving on. The history about this album, again, like I said, it's rooted in like Black womanhood and like self-education. But it also came out during a time when R&B was dominated by only male voices. So this was one of the first albums to like come out during this time period. And it was a turning point in R&B history. So that's like really essential to it. And it also showed conversations of identity and sexism in the music industry.
That's really amazing. Thank you, Lauren. And I do think it is very important to like talk about that even now, because you do have a lot of people demonizing Black artists in the media. And I think it's all the more important. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so this is my second one. This is the debut album by Leslie Gore. She was an American singer-songwriter discovered at 16. I have more context for this album. So basically, this is, she was 17. It is a lot about like sadness, dealing with the trials and tribulations of life, teenage heartbreak, but also Leslie Gore was actually a self-proclaimed lesbian, and she came out later in life. So this was also a little bit of her kind of dealing with being closeted at the time and kind of, her feelings of sorrow towards that. Yeah. So if we have any guesses as to when perhaps LGBTQ is not fully accepted in America, might help you with the time period.
I want to say 80s.
Yeah, I was gonna
80s
say
around
80s.
70s, 80s,
70s, 80s,
Yeah.
Y'all, look at her hair in this picture.
60s,
60s.
50s,
50s.
40s.
Okay. Nikolai did say it right first. It is the 60s. This album is called I'll Cry If I Want To. It came out in 1963. Another notable event in the 60s was unfortunately the assassination of JFK as well. So lots of things happening in the world at this time.
Lots of things happening in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, this is mine.
Awesome.
It comes off of the space age boom in American history, kind of, and it points in like a fictitious kind of point of view. So it's off of the space age.
Space age, fictitious. Judging by that and by his clothes, I'm gonna say I feel like it's 70s, especially I feel like the space
70s.
age.
70s,
I feel
80s,
like
Cold War.
a lot of that kind of
What do
Fantasia.
you think?
I feel like it's 70s.
I would trust your guys' judgment and say 70s.
70s.
I mean,
I think it's 70s.
You are correct. It is 70s. This is from the legendary David Bowie.
Ooh.
Yes.
So yeah, this comes off of, during the 60s, there was the real space age. This is coming on the top of that, where he put it in this fictitious point of view where he has an alter ego called Ziggy Stardust, and it's about space. This is the one where with Starman, the iconic David Bowie song.
Yes, okay.
And he wrote it based when he went to America, and he wrote a bunch of songs, and then he kind of developed the story afterwards using influence from the space age.
Nice.
That's so
cool.
That is really
And that is a heck of an album title for
Yeah,
It's
sure.
a-
it's a long one.
So-
Yeah.
It's a long one.
Yeah,
All right.
that's awesome.
See the next one?
Great.
Oh,
All right,
I love this
so
album.
this is the album I picked. So this was actually, it came out sort of after this band was already established as this classic hard rock band, and they decided to take kind of a new direction. And make a more experimental album that basically is combined elements of blues and classical music and with kind of the prior hard rock sound. So it kind of came at a time when classic rock was kind of shifting to more modern experimental, in a more modern experimental direction.
Yeah. I'm saying 90s, 2000s.
I was getting 80s or 90s.
I'm thinking, I think 90s
No,
maybe.
let's be safe in 90s.
90s.
With the classic rock.
What do we think, Tyler?
You guys are right. It's 90s.
90s?
Yeah.
Yay. Yes.
So yeah, this is a Guns N' Roses album, Use Your Illusion Part 1. And it was actually released at the exact same time as Use Your Illusion Part 2. So they released both albums at the same time. And actually, this album sold fewer copies than the sequel of it, which was released at the same time.
Wow.
So it was actually less successful than the album sequel.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, it was more experimental. It was a very difficult album for them to finish because they were very, very unhappy with how their producer was conducting things, and they basically had to fire him after 21 attempts to make this album. So, and that basically took them like an extra 2 years to make.
Oh, wow.
So,
Goodness. That's crazy.
Okay, well, I think that is all the time we have for today. As you can see, music not only entertains people, but also preserves and shows perspectives of powerful movements in history. Thank you so much for joining us, and always remember to keep listening, learning, and enjoying music and the history that comes from it. Back to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Lauren. Sadly, that is all of the time we have for today. In the meantime, stay updated with ATD on all of our socials at PSU at the Desk, and let us know what you want to see us cover next. I'm Sophia Tabernet, and we will see you back at the desk next week.